Yeah.
And let me say very clearly,
Tell
as
us.
people are listening,
Yep.
as you've said thankfully, I don't want to share my opinion.
Amen.
I want to share the truth that the church teaches because it's beautiful.
Amen.
It's life giving. It brings us joy. It brings us fulfillment, even in the area of trying to live a chaste life, which is hard, it's challenging, it's countercultural, but it's going to bring us the most peace and fulfillment to live the way God has taught us to live.
Welcome back to the Bishop Strickland Hour. This is Terry Barber. I just heard you, Bishop Strickland, give some great advice about following the truth, and that I think of Father Bill Casey, the Father General, former Father General for the Fathers of Mercy, used to say, the most merciless thing you can do is let someone wallow in error. Give them the truth with charity and clarity. And that's what you just did regarding receiving Holy Communion. I'd like to shift now to the Sixth Commandment. For those who just tuned in, Bishop Strickland has been going through the 10 Commandments. And I joke with people, Bishop Strickland, I say the 10 Commandments has no expiration date, that these commandments are still valid, because some people try to tell me, oh, well, yeah, we're living in the 21st century, so somehow that's going to mitigate what the teachings of the church are. No, objective truth, the teachings of Christ, the teachings are good today, 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now. So I would like to move right into this commandment that is going to really raise some eyebrows, because it's the Sixth Commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. And this is a commandment that a lot of people, Bishop Strickland, scratch their heads and say, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Fornication, adultery, all this. This is rampant in our culture. That can't be still valid, can it be? I mean, Bishop Strickland, I've heard this in all my ministry time to say that needs to be adjusted, because people just can't be chaste. They can't live a life without committing adultery or fornication. It's all over. You have to understand these circumstances we live in make it okay now. So my question to you as a bishop of your diocese, I'm sure you're no different than here in California. People are affected by pornography and all kinds of things, and breakup of marriages. I mean, the Sixth Commandment is critical for a stable society. So I'd like to ask you if you can comment on what the Catechism has to say about the Sixth Commandment, where it says making male and female he created. So what's the beginning of the Sixth Commandment? Give us some information on why this is still valid today.
Well, it's because there's still human beings created in the image of God. Amen. On the planet.
Yeah, there you go.
There won't be any need for these commandments when there are no human beings created in the image and likeness of God.
Yep.
Animals don't need the commandments. The plants don't need the commandments. Their DNA programming takes care of it because they have natural life. But so as long as there are people, the commandments are valid, because it's about how do people live this journey in the most joyful, productive way.
Wow.
I think it's very interesting, and as you've said, Terry, the Sixth Commandment is probably the broken commandment in our time.
Yeah, I think so.
And if we look, we can look at so many of the biblical stories and the breaking of the Sixth Commandment. Chastity has been a challenge for humanity ever since Adam and Eve fell, and the Garden of Eden wasn't the way things worked anymore. And so what we call concupiscence, the tendency to sin, and one of the primary areas of sin, it can be traced through the fall of empires, the violence. So many things are caught up in the struggle against chastity or for chastity. It's tough.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting in the way the Catechism approaches it, I don't know that many people would say, okay, we got to endure the Catholic Catechism, and here's the Sixth Commandment.
Yeah.
What does it start with? Of course, the commandment, very simply. You shall not commit adultery. And then the very next section says, male and female, he created them.
Right. Right.
And you might say, huh? Talk about adultery. What do you mean male and female, he created them?
Sure.
But the Catechism goes into understanding, why would adultery be wrong? Well, adultery is not being faithful to marriage. Well, what's marriage? Marriage is the commitment, lifelong commitment of a man and a woman. And part of that commitment is a chaste relationship.
Yep.
And even as I say that, I can imagine people thinking, here's this Catholic bishop and he thinks all sex is bad and even married people shouldn't have sex. He said it should be a chaste relationship. That is not what the church teaches. But I think, almost presenting it almost like a cartoon of just, these crazy Catholics, they don't think you should even have sex in marriage.
Right.
A chaste relationship in marriage, absolutely. The Catholic Church does say for a marriage to truly be a marriage, it has to include the sexual intercourse between a man and a woman.
Amen.
That's what has to happen in a marriage.
Yep.
We probably the issue of ratum non consummatum. I use some Latin, not yet.
Yeah, got it. I've heard that. Yeah.
Really, an unconsummated marriage, which basically means a marriage where they haven't had sexual intercourse. That ain't our problem in the 21st century.
No.
It's the pre-consummated marriage.
You got it.
The problem.
Yep.
Most of the time it was consummated long before they were married, Catholic or not. That's just a reality that we have to face pastorally and try to pull people back to an understanding of chastity. So to say that a marriage should be chaste is part of what the church teaches. But to understand chastity in the context, what the church says very often, is the way the church puts it is a person should be chaste according to their state in life.
Well said.
Which means for me as a celibate priest, I should be chaste. And, that is a challenge for every celibate priest. If you're honest with yourself, it's a challenge. And we fail. We're sinners. A man and a woman in marriage, you and your wife, married,
chastity,
committed in your marriage.
Sure.
That needs to be a chaste relationship.
That's right.
A different kind of chastity than me, who refrains from any sexual intimacy with any person.
Right.
For you, it's you refrain from sexual intimacy with any person
That's right.
other than your wife.
You got it.
That's the core of adultery. So we come back to thou shalt not commit adultery. For me, it means being chaste with every person, chaste in body, mind, and spirit, which gets more challenging. You might say, well, it just, and even, honestly, as I went through formation in the seminary, sometimes it was a little less stringent than it needed to be. Being a celibate, honestly, being a celibate priest, as it was presented to me, the emphasis was not on the chastity. It was on the celibacy, the not marrying, which, is an essential aspect of it. And I think that truly the chastity was presumed, but obviously it needed to be more than presumed because of the tragedy of the brokenness we've seen in the church with priests not living a chaste celibate life. In whatever ways that has broken down, we have to do better. And the seminaries, thankfully, are doing better now at emphasizing celibacy means chastity according to your state in life. What does it mean for a married man to be chaste according to his state in life? Well, it certainly means